Happy Tuesday, everyone. We're here with local author Shaun Rowles. We're here to talk about money revolution. Okay, so we've been doing the whole Halloween thing, and Shaun, it's a good time, I guess, to talk about money because the holidays are around the corner, right?
There you go.
How's it going this morning?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on. This is a pleasure.
Listen, you live in Leapers Fort, but you've written this new book. So tell me a little bit about your book. I see you've got it behind you there. You've got a little picture on the wall there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, it just released Friday, so it'll be all over the place for a little while. But yeah, the book is really, everybody knows that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency really have seemed to have dominated the headlines lately. And like any technological revolution, there's a lot of people who, maybe ignored it for a while or just didn't think it was that relevant to their lives. And then they kind of continue to hear this steady drumbeat. It doesn't seem to be going away. And so really what this book is about is for all of those people who have maybe either missed learning about it or just now kind of wanting to pay attention. This is really the primer to get you caught completely up to speed. And what separates this work from a lot of the other works is that rather than being all forward looking and this is what Bitcoin's going to do, I really take a much more objective approach to it. In other words, it's why did Bitcoin and cryptocurrency even come into existence to begin with? What is the historical circumstances that enabled or allowed for that? And really, if I had to boil it down in terms of the theme of the book, it's really 3 points. The first is that money has a much larger effect on us as humans than many of us really realize. And so I spend a whole lot of time kind of at the beginning of the book really setting the stage for that. Why does paying attention to money matter so much to us? The second is that Bitcoin has kind of reignited a conversation that has literally been occurring over thousands of years. And that is, what is money and who shall control it? And
Mm,
a big part of the Bitcoin movement is essentially pushing back against this era of central banking and consolidated authority over money. And really what I wanted to bring to readers is this isn't some new conversation that just popped up on the fringe. This is actually something that we as the users of money have been heavily involved in for, especially in this country, since the founding, honestly. So that's kind of that second point, is a revitalization of that conversation. What is money and who will control it? And then the third key theme is Bitcoin and even cryptocurrencies may fade from the scene, but the underlying technology underneath them, what enables them, blockchain, is here to stay, and it is going to change our lives. And so whether or not you are excited or interested in Bitcoin or alternative digital payments, blockchain is something you need to pay attention to, because much like the internet revolution that we all lived through, it's
right.
going to have that same kind of profound effect where people that don't really know what it is start talking about it. And then the next thing you know, a few years pass and it's underlying everything around us.
Hmm. Wow, that's a lot to think about.
It's
So,
it's um it's heavy on content, but I like to think that I write it in a very user friendly and approachable way.
so would you recommend people dipping into Bitcoin? Is that something that you recommend or talk about in the book?
So the use of Bitcoin as, so one of the things that we really want to establish is, I think the word currency in cryptocurrencies has really confused the conversation.
Hmm.
Because Bitcoin was initially created as a proof of concept. Could you use this new technology of blockchain to create a peer-to-peer payment system so that we can transport value across the planet in a few seconds with no central authority on a decentralized system? And what we found is, yes, it works. In the decades since its founding, we've found several different little issues or constraints with it that has spawned off new entrants into the sphere. But what it's really not is an actual currency. And in fact, a lot of the tokens that we all call cryptocurrencies aren't currencies at all. And so unfortunately, the initial use of the word currency kind of crossed the circuits a little bit,
Hmm.
and have confused us. Now, what Bitcoin is trying to be is a form of a store of value. And honestly, that's each and every user's kind of value judgment. But understanding what it is, why it's in existence, and then understanding kind of the more important piece, which is that underlying technology is something you want to pay attention to, whether or not you're a Bitcoin investor or holder or any of those things.
Hmm. Wow. We just got a question come in. Is it available on ebooks? People are asking, is this going to be available?
It is. So right now, I know on Amazon you can get the hardcover or you can get the ebook. I think it's Kindle version. I'm not sure what Barnes and Nobles and Target are doing. I know they have the hardback, but I know it's available in an ebook.
Okay. Yeah, I personally kind of like ebooks because you can have them with you everywhere, and you
Right.
don't put down your book and then forget about it or lose it or whatever. This is fascinating to me. I mean, what kind of research did you have to do to write this book?
Yeah, this was this was every bit of at least 5 years worth of research. And because you kind of have to keep in mind the scope of what the book is doing. So really, I'm tracing the history of financial technology, disruption in finance, since the creation of coinage itself. So we're spanning thousands of years in the groundwork. And the reason that I do all of that is it's very hard to understand why Bitcoin and all of these things are making the splash that they are if you don't understand the system that they're essentially kind of pushing back against. And so I really break down financial history into kind of three major turning points. The first was the creation of money itself, coinage. The second was the creation of central banks, which obviously now rule the world. And then the third is this introduction of cryptocurrency, which is kind of pushing back against this central bank paradigm. And so I think Niall Ferguson, the financial historian, said it best when he said, financial history is the backbone of all history. And that's really kind of the theme that I'm trying to push in the book. And again, to kind of go back to why does that matter so much? So it turns out that money has an extremely outsized effect on our minds. So we all know how important money is in our day-to-day lives. It's the ability for us to survive and thrive on our planet now. But more importantly, the effects it has on our psychology. And just an interesting note that came out of the research is a lot of us like to think that as we were developing society and civilization, we were experiencing this increase in intelligence, and as a romantic outpouring of that, we created the written language so that we could have literature and those types of things. And in reality, we trace back that the creation of written language wasn't for literature or high-minded uses. It was to record the debts of who owed what to whom. And so
Oh, wow.
I think that really kind of drives home that theme of finance is really at the core of an awful lot of human development. And we kind of need to recognize that in order to understand why these things have such major effects when they're introduced.
Wow. Wow, you get us a lot to think about and unpack. We all need this book. Maybe we should do a book club and talk about this because I feel like there's so many interesting facts that we could talk about for a very long time. But tell everybody, you just finished a book tour. Are you going to be doing any local book signings where people can meet you and talk about the book?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just came back from hosting the first ever panel on blockchain and NFTs, which are um, a new popular item that's enabled by blockchain, in London at Comic-Con, which was the funniest environment in the world because you're presenting. First of all, I wasn't sure is there going to be anybody interested, and we actually had a packed audience. But what was really interesting is that it was packed with all different types of people in a lot of different costumes. We had stormtroopers in there. We had it all. But due to the success of that, I got invited to do the one for C2E2 in Chicago this December. So we'll kind of continue that circuit. Locally, we're doing a book signing with Vanderbilt, and we just settled on the date for December 6th at 5 p.m. at the Vanderbilt University bookstore. So that'll be a really fun event as well. We'll have a brief conversation, some Q&A. Some of that will be digital for people that still aren't doing the in-person thing. But I believe space is limited to 50 people, but we'll definitely be doing a signing. And obviously, I'm still trying to fill up the calendar and put together more events. The demand has certainly been, more positive than we expected, which is always great when you release
Yeah.
something. So we're trying to scramble to keep up with it.
All
But I
right.
will
Very.
I will say, in an era of concerns over supply chains and Christmas presents, this is one you can get. So
There you go. That's
click
always
and it'll
good
be
to
there.
hear. So you already mentioned it's available on Amazon. Where else can you buy? Are there any local bookstores that you're selling your book right now?
We're working to get it into a few of them. I know this isn't necessarily local, but the Sewanee University bookstore will have it. Working to get it into landmark booksellers in Franklin, and then obviously Target and Barnes and Nobles.
All right, well, go check it out. It's definitely available on Amazon. Money Revolution. Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, we could probably talk about this all day, but you guys just go get the book and then let us know how you like it. Hey, thanks for joining us this morning. Hopefully, we'll get to see you again soon.
Great, Donna. Thank you so much. This